Welcome to my first one of these. I wanted to basically create an opportunity to make a weekly discussional video of movies that I've been watching or TV shows that I've been watching and just kind of discuss them briefly. This isn't a review show, so I just want to say that, like right off the bat, this isn't a. I don't plan to review in the. I do plan to review, but it's not like is this movie bad? Is this movie good? Is this show bad? Is this show good? It's more of just some of my thoughts on it. Most likely, majority of these are going to be ones that I liked, and I probably won't do very many that I didn't like. I have just no desire to get on here and talk negative about other filmmakers and their work. But I do want to have discussion about some movies that are out there, and not just because, oh man, that's such a great movie, or oh, that's Oscar worthy, or oh this or oh that, but like very specific things on why these movies moved me, why I liked them, why I didn't like them, and or not didn't like them, things that I might have not liked in them, or things that I don't know. So I guess I said that I wasn't going to do that. So this, again, I'm going to try to avoid, I'm not going to avoid negativity, but I'm going to avoid, I'm not going to pick the latest, I won't talk about Aquaman on here. Let's just put it that way. That'll be the easiest way for me to put it. I won't be talking about The Flash on here either. So first one, here it is. The movie I want to discuss specifically too, because today, while I'm recording this, obviously this will be coming out probably in the next week or so, but today the Oscars were announced. The nominations, Oscars, were announced, and Killers of the Flower Moon was on that list, and I want to discuss it because this is a movie that I have been thinking about a lot since I watched it, over a week ago. I've been thinking about it a lot. My wife and I have been talking about it a lot, and so I just wanted to come on here and just kind of discuss it for a little bit. So Killers of the Flower Moon, on IMDb, the quick synopsis, the log line is: when oil is discovered in 1920s Oklahoma under Osage Nation land, the Osage people are murdered one by one until the FBI steps in to unravel the mystery. It's directed by Martin Scorsese, written by Eric Roth and Martin Scorsese. This thing just got nominated for Best Picture, Best Director. Lily Gladstone, who is the lead female in this movie, got nominated for Best Actress. And then Robert De Niro, got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role in this. Leo got snubbed on this, as some of you might have read. But I'm a little sad about Leo being snubbed on this. I have heard from a few people that they didn't love his performance in this. But I think that the subtlety of his character got overlooked. He had so many subtle moments to his character. One of my favorite things about it, if you go to watch the movie, is you watch his character. It's really a psychological deal. You watch him have boastful, prideful moments and intimidated moments. And so there's these great moments throughout the film where specifically when he's with his uncle, De Niro's character, he curves his shoulders. He does this thing where he gets low when he's at the dinner table. He leans over real low, and I find it very fascinating because it's so he when he's with De Niro, even when he's with his wife, even when he's trying to court his wife or woo her, he sits up in his chair. But when he's at his uncle's table, he's leaned over. And I think it's just such a subtle thing, but it's showing the psychology of the character and basically just how beat puppy he is around his uncle. And then ultimately is willing to do whatever his uncle tells him, even up into the point of being a part of this conspiracy. I don't want to spoil a lot. It's a 3.5 hour movie. There was a lot of talk on the movie being too long. That was another big one. I don't agree with that. I think that if you're somebody out there that's listening and you're going to get in the comments and be like, this movie was too long, then I want you to add in there where you think that what should have been cut, what section should have been cut from the movie if you think it's too long. Like, what parts would you cut out? What storylines would you cut out to make it shorter? Because honestly, it moves so fast, and they're covering years and years and years and years of life. And so I feel like it would be very hard for me, especially coming from, I've spent a lot of years editing. I don't know what I would cut. Being in script development and reading a lot of scripts, I don't know what I would cut. Being in editing, I don't know what I would cut. Like, it's very difficult to figure out exactly what I would cut back. There are parts I actually felt like needed more time to breathe. But again, it's 3.5 hours. So then also, how do you say, man, this needs more time to breathe? And so I don't agree with this movie should be shorter. I think movies can be shorter. I think that you can make very impactful movies at 1 hour to 1.5 hours. But I don't think that they have to be shorter. And I think that's the difference. I think there are stories that can fit into that 1.5 hours. And then there's stories like this in Oppenheimer that feel great. They feel epic and they feel long. I think my one regret from this movie is I didn't get to see it in theaters. I was, because of all of the mixed reviews on it, I really was nervous about going and spending 3.5 hours in a theater. When do I have 4 hours to kill for a weekend with kids and everything else? I didn't make it. And so Lydia and I finally saw it here at the house, and man, it was incredible. It was such a good time, but it got us talking. I think that's the biggest point. This is why I love this movie so much, is there's so many questions. It leaves so many questions. It doesn't entirely give you answers, and it stirs you like, could this story be real? Why didn't the Osage fight back? What happened here? Why is it like this here? And it actually turned into us doing research on the story, on the Osage, and figuring out exactly what happened in that time period. And it's very fascinating. And I recommend going and looking at that history. The other thing I would say about that as well, and again, I want to keep these kind of short, so I won't go too much further, but I think that one of the things about leaving you with questions rather than answers, and I think if you were like, man, why did she do that? Why was she doing this? Why did he do that? Those are good things. I heard Taylor Sheridan recently, the creator of Yellowstone, he said that if I will walk out of a movie if I feel like it's preaching at me, but my job as a writer, producer, director is not to give you answers, but to give you questions. And I think that's so true about art, true art, not just propaganda, a movie, feeding you a message. But I think that true art is something that just stirs all your emotions, makes you feel all these things, and then gives you a bunch of questions that you then can go on and find the answers. Maybe I honestly felt like I wanted to read the book. And then having done some research about the story, there's actually a lot more in the book that isn't in this movie. So you actually have like a complementary work of art to go with the true story of the book. And I think that's something that's very incredible about this movie as well. I'm excited for these stories to be told because I think Robert De Niro was in an incredible movie called The Untouchables. Brian De Palma directed that. Kevin Costner stars in it with Sean Connery, and he plays Al Capone. And I think it's interesting because his character in this was an Al Capone, but out in the Old West, out in the West. In this, yes, there's cars, but a very Western landscape. Native Americans, cowboys, all fighting for oil, over oil. This new gold rush, and I think it's just fascinating because these are stories that aren't told. I didn't grow up knowing about this story, and then you do the research into it. And you're like, oh my gosh, how did I never know about this story? They also talk in this movie about the Tulsa Massacre, and they talk about it a little bit in this because it happened around the same time. You have literally in Oklahoma, you have the Ku Klux Klan massacring African Americans in Tulsa, and then you have this conspiracy of white settlers basically wiping out the Osage people for oil. And there's just... there's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. I almost wish I could have like a round table of people just to like discuss the implications of this in history, how it can speak to us. I don't know if I've really said much other than how good it is, but I think that to me, what I guess my encouragement to anyone would be is to watch movies like this that get you thinking. If you are upset with something, like somebody messaged me on Instagram about this movie and said that They were upset with the Native Americans because they just sat there and let this happen to them. Well, this is a true story. They literally did actually just sit there and almost let this happen to them, which then asked the question, why? Why did they do that? And it stirred an emotion in you. And to me, that means the movie worked. That means the movie worked because now I'm asking that question, why? Why did they do that? Why would they be okay with this? And then you start to research, you start to look at it, and you look at the context of the way that America has treated the Native Americans, that these Native Americans had to buy this land that was the Osage Nation. They bought it from America, and then America told them how they could utilize it in favor of whites. Then they found oil. Then they got super rich. Then they found out that, oh, wait, the America, the government goes, oh, you know what? Actually, you're so wealthy, you don't know how to actually manage your own money. So we're going to give you white guardians to help you manage your own money. And they cover that in the movie. They don't go into grave detail of exactly how all of that politics works, but it starts to stir this question in you of like, what the hell is happening with this? And I think that it does such a great job at asking those questions that hopefully actually stirs a response in you. And to me, that is what art is supposed to do. When you look at a painting, it's not supposed to give you a sermon. It's not supposed to give you a political speech. You look at a painting, you're moved emotionally, and it causes you to move, somewhere like poetry the same way. Maybe it causes you to think differently about something. I think that I will probably watch Killers of the Flower Moon multiple times and see something different every time I watch it. And I think that is the beauty of art, is that you can make something that you can see a different side. Man, I was really fixated on this character the first time I watched it, but the second time I watched it, this character stands out to me. You might have not noticed Leonardo as this beat puppy, but go back and watch his acting in that is just so superb. One person told me that Lily Gladstone's character is just cold, but if you watch her, same thing. She gives off these subtleties. One, she's a reflection of her culture that's hungry for a little bit of change at the same time. Like, she's intrigued by this white man and what he brings. And you see her kind of shift for a second. Unfortunately, not, it opens her up to attack, unfortunately, and to her family, attack on her family, which is super sad. But it's interesting because I think that then you start to gain, as you're going through 3 hours of this, you start to gain distrust for all the white people in the story. Who's good, who's bad, even this FBI guy, and you kind of go on that journey. What was it like to be that person and go through that? And I'm feeling those emotions while I'm watching it. And it's that, to me, is what gets me excited. I'm not saying this is a foolproof movie. I don't know. I'm voting. I can't vote, but I would vote for it for Best Picture. But I will say this. It's an incredible work of art that does what art is supposed to do. And that's my big pitch for it. You could love it and you can hate it. And if you hate it and you don't like it, then that's what art is supposed to do. And if you feel meh, most people aren't going to feel meh about this movie, right? And I think that's the important thing. I think you go and watch your latest superhero movie and you might feel a little meh, like I love it, didn't like it, whatever. That's other people's cup of sci-fi, what. But this movie, you either are going to love it, you're going to hate it, you're going to not be sure about it, you're going to feel all these things about it. And that's the really wonderful thing about this movie. So I encourage people to watch it now, especially now that it's on Apple TV Plus. If you have a hard time being able to sit through 3.5 hours of something, then you can stop it. But most likely, my guess is you will get sucked into it like we did, and watch it till the end. So, yeah, that's my recommendation for this week is Killers of the Flower Moon on Apple TV Plus.